All right. Hey, welcome everyone. Chris Petri here. Thanks so much for coming by. We're actually going to start on this wonderful and fun flower painting in watercolor. We're going to cover all the basics that you would ever need to get this completed. We're going to show you how, incidentally, everything is going to be on screen. So you're going to see the palette that we're going to use on screen with all the colors and all the color mixes that we're going to use. You're going to see that all to the left side of the video. And then on the right side of the video, you're always going to see in the screen this printout that we have printed out from the internet of a watercolor flower painting that we're going to use for our painting ourselves. So we're going to have that over to the left-hand side over here. So you'll see all of the palette, the subject matter we're going to use to create our painting, and you'll see our drawing and painting here. Everything here on one screen. We'll have everything so you can see how we're doing the whole approach to getting this completed. It's a lot of fun. If you're here for the first time, you're at the right place at the right time. We do everything here watercolor. So we're doing flowers this week. Next week, we're doing maybe boats, seascapes, beach scenes. Maybe the week after we're doing city scenes, beautiful architecture. We might be doing the next week some figure paintings and some portraits. After that, we might be creating some wonderful landscape scenes out in the beautiful mountains, things like this. So we're doing all kinds of different subject matter, everything watercolor. If you're going to be here, please, you just hit subscribe below. You'll be with us. You'll be locked in and ready to just start learning the medium of watercolor. It's a lot of fun. I explain all the basics and fundamentals every time we get together for every video. So you're always going to be having the fundamentals and basics forefront in your mind of how things operate with watercolors. And then again, we might differ on colors. We might differ on what size brushes you're going to use. We might differ on whether we're doing flowers or landscapes or a city scene, but we're always going to be covering the very basics of the mechanics of watercolor, and that's going to get you to the next level with your paintings. And I have many people, again, that are always sharing with me in the comment section, as well as people sending me in their paintings on email. They're sending me their paintings. They look wonderful, beautiful. They're getting a lot of success with their paintings, so there's no reason why you can't have that same progress with your watercolors. You're just going to stay here week after week, month after month, and even year after year with us, and we're going to get it done together. Okay, so let's get started with the video. All right, so we just saw the finished painting. We're creating just some wonderful, beautiful flowers here. We're going to kind of keep it simple. We're going to actually just create a white vase with some red and purple flowers, maybe one daisy. We'll put a daisy in there. We have our reference photograph right here. This is just a quick photograph I printed from the my printer at home. So you can print pretty much, you can go online on the internet and you can look up all kinds of flowers. You can look up bouquets of flowers. You can look up you might look up something like watercolor painting flowers. You can kind of just have your fun with researching online, and then when you find some pictures you really like and you think they're going to work for some watercolor painting, you take those and you print them out, maybe on your printer, or maybe you just leave them on your phone or your iPad or your home computer, whatever you like to work from, and then you'll have your subject matter all set up for you. And then it's just a matter of, we're just going to take what we're seeing here. This is the photograph I chose to print out. I always suggest to my students that if you purchase my book, Watercolor Methods for Success, you can see that in the description box down below. Sometimes you have to click on the word more underneath my videos, and if you click on more, you'll see all of the links to my new book. Actually, a really wonderful video of my new book, all the pages in my book in like 2 minutes. So you can look through a 2-minute video, see all the pages of my book in that video, and this way you kind of see what you're going to purchase as far as my book goes. But my book has tons of beautiful watercolor paintings in it, and they look much like this. So you would just take my book and you can work right from my book. So if you have my book open in front of you on your watercolor table, your easel, you can cut out pages of my book. I always tell everyone, buy 2 of my books. One to keep on the coffee table you can look at when you're just relaxing, having a cup of coffee or tea or your favorite beverage. And then the other book that you buy of mine, your second book, that's going to be the book you're going to clip out all of my paintings out of my book, and you'll keep those in your studio in a folder. And then whenever you just want to create something like a seascape or a boat painting, you'll just go look through your folder. You'll pull out one of my boat paintings, put that on your easel or your art table or however you're working from, and you'll just copy and work from that. So I'm always suggesting everyone do that. And you can do that with anyone's books, any art books you might have from other artists as well as mine. Of course, I always suggest that you would, if you're here on my channel and you're following me on a regular basis, it makes total sense that you would purchase some of my books and then use them as like your compositional work that you're going to use to draw and paint from. But in any case, we're going to work from something very similar to what I would create here. This is from something else I saw online. I just found this online and I figured I'd use it. It looks really good. It's basically a vase of flowers, beautiful red and purple flowers, a daisy, and then like a small inkwell over here on the bottom left-hand side. So we're going to recreate that here. And of course, you just saw the finished painting right at the beginning of the video, so that's really helpful. And let's kind of just talk about this now. So we're going to get our drawing in here. First thing I like to do is just make a pencil line around the outside of my paper, just so you can have like your basic rectangle that you draw, and you kind of know that's your area you're working in. And then from that point, I kind of just really look at this and say, how is this going to fit into this paper that I have right here? This is Fabriano Artistico watercolor paper, extra white watercolor paper. That's my favorite paper to use. And so I put my rectangle here with my pencil. Then I just kind of maybe say, let's make a light sketch of how we're going to have this in the painting. So pretty much we're going to have this center of the painting, of the composition, this vase and flowers and inkwell here. So I'll start out here. Maybe this is a little bit over here. And then maybe we'll start the bottom of our vase over here. So let's have a little bit of space from the bottom of the painting up to the bottom of the vase over here. So that's what I'll do. I'll travel up and then say, okay, that's about good there. And then what I'll do is I'm doing this lightly. And actually what I'll do is I'll do it a little darker than I might normally do. So what I want you to do back at home, in your studio, in your home, your place, is when you do your preliminary sketch, this is what we'll call a preliminary sketch, which means you're going to lightly, very, very ever so lightly put in a sketch of what you're seeing, your subject matter, onto your paper. And when you create a very light sketch, that gives you the ability to take a little bit of an eraser and fix a few places once you're done, because you might have miscalculated on a few areas and you'll need to change a few things. So if you do a very light, super light sketch first, which we call a preliminary sketch, that means you'll have that comfort zone of being able to just erase some lines here and there and then redraw a few things so you get everything just right. Versus if you go in with a really dark pencil line when you first start, that means you're going to be working harder to try to erase some of those lines. So we'd rather go in light with a first preliminary sketch, and then from there you can go over with a darker pencil line on top of your preliminary sketch. So in essence, you're going to be creating two pencil drawings. Your first one's going to be super light, just to get the general composition correct, where you have everything in the right place. And then the second one you'll go over with a darker pencil line, kind of like tracing over the top of your first one. But that first one's key of importance because you really want to make sure you have everything sort of in the right place. You don't want to start out drawing your vase and then it's too high, and the next thing you know, this beautiful red flower up here is out of the picture, like up top up here somewhere. So you want to make sure everything is in the picture frame, so to speak, or the rectangle here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make sure I have everything in the correct location. So I'll go over, but I'll do my preliminary sketch a little darker so you can see what I'm doing basically. So I'm just going to take that and do the left-hand side of the vase over here, the white vase, and then I'll start to look at my petals of my flowers over here. And then I notice I'm going to come back down here at the bottom and come up and do this. Okay, so far my preliminary sketch is going well. I think I have this bottom of this vase looking pretty good in the picture frame here. I have plenty of room up above here to get in all of my flowers. Sometimes you'll have to squeeze a few things in, and you're the artist. That's what we call artist liberty, incidentally. Artist liberty is basically when you're drawing something. Let's say we're working from this composition here, this beautiful painting of flowers, watercolor painting, and we're working from that to create our drawing and painting. Sometimes you might see something and say, you know what, I'm drawing this and I realize I didn't leave enough space up top here to get this red flower in. Well, that's okay. You can take this red flower and shorten it up and make it closer to the area here at the top of the bouquet of flowers if you needed to. So that's not a big issue. Yes, we'd rather have it up here higher, like it's in this, and just like it is here painted in this watercolor painting. But if you had an issue where maybe you drew your vase a little bit larger and then you didn't have enough room to squeeze in this flower, you could take this flower, make it a little smaller, and squeeze it down into the picture frame for yourself. So that's what I call artist liberty. So you, as an artist, you always want to feel like you're not locked into any one thing at any time. You can always adjust your paintings, your drawings, as you go, to make it work for your final composition and your final painting. And that goes with anything that you're doing. So always remember, you're the artist. It's like you're a director of a movie. And you have the power to direct things, change things. Even to the last minute, you can do some changes and recreate some things or whatever you want to, because you have that. You can trim and you can cut. Like artists, let's say film directors and producers of films, like movies and TV shows and all of that, they'll take a whole bunch of film and create a whole bunch of cuts and film of all different things, and then they'll take it and they'll start trimming it all down and putting in all the pieces just the way they want to of the film, and they'll trim down clips that are maybe 10 minutes long. They'll trim them down to 5 minutes, and they'll take just the perfect spots that they think work just perfectly, and then they'll do that. So they'll condense everything down into a 2-hour film. They might have 20 hours of film, and they trim everything down and they make it into like a 2-hour film or a 1-hour film, whatever it is. So it's the same thing with painting. You're going to take what you're doing, and if you have to trim down some things, shrink some things down, make some things smaller, take some things and leave them out, that as an artist is an invaluable skill to have. So I want you to have that skill, and that's why I just mentioned it here as we're going. So here we're going to continue on, and I'll just keep working my pencil preliminary sketch here, and I just want to keep going here, and I'm working through this section over here now. Doesn't have to be perfect exact like this, but close. I'm trying to get as close as I possibly can. And I'm trying to move at a good, somewhat decent pace. And then here, I'm going to make this flower here, and it looks like we are on schedule here. We're doing well. We have this flower that we were able to get into the picture frame here just right. I noticed I had to shift this over a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit larger. Maybe let's take this and kind of make it a little smaller. We made it too large, that flower here. So let's just move that down and shrink it down a little bit. Like that. So again, we're just working as we go, adjusting, readjusting, adjust, readjust. And down here, I'm starting to work through this section here to get some of these beautiful purple flowers there. Like this. Okay, and then now I see this daisy here. This is a beautiful daisy. Let's kind of sort of see where we're going to put that. It's about right here. So if you have to, you might have to erase a little bit of your flowers that you had there so you can get that in. And then I'll do my daisy over here, and that's the center of the daisy is a little bit to the right of the vase over here. So I'm just kind of trying to line things up as I see them. So the right of the vase here, if I go straight up and I say the same thing over here, I reference over to my picture over here, my printout, my copy that I made. You come up straight up and you see that the center of the daisy is right at the right side of this vase, the side of the vase over here. So if I go straight up over here, That's where about my center of my daisy should be, right about there. And then we'll just create that daisy over here, like that. And I think we have it. Then over here in the middle, I would like to make this other flower. I see there's another dark bit of dark shadow in there, so I'll just color that in with a little bit of dark pencil. And then over here, I notice there's another really nice flower here. Like that, and then there's a center of that flower there. And then over here in the center, there's some greens. So there's some green leaf forms that we're going to have here. And I think I might just take this vase and make it a little bit wider. I think I just want to make this a little bit wider. Like this. Like that. And that's really it. We have the vase, the flowers. Then we're going to come over here, we'll do our inkwell. And then we just notice our inkwell is about halfway from the bottom of this vase here. It sits about halfway centered on that line here where the bottom of the vase is. So I just want to make sure it's got a little bit of a taper to it, the bottom of or the sides of like that. And it goes in like this, and then we have a top like this. Like that. And then I'm going to put the table back here. So I'm just going to put the edge of the table back here, like that, so we can see that. And now you'll just notice that this is basically the fundamental process of doing a preliminary sketch, which is a light sketch first. Now you can go over with a dark sketch on top of this, but if your light preliminary sketch turns out really well and you're happy with it, you really don't need to go over with a darker pencil line unless you want darker pencil lines in your painting. I particularly like dark pencil lines in my paintings. I actually really enjoy seeing pencil lines through the watercolor paint. That's my own personal taste, but everyone's different. Some people do not like to see pencil lines, so you'll figure out what you like as an artist. You'll say, yeah, I like pencil lines showing through. I want to see those. Or you might say, I don't like pencil lines showing through my paintings when I'm doing watercolor. So that in that case, when you do your really, really light preliminary sketch, you just leave it as it is, and you go over with a darker pencil line if you maybe want to see a little more pencil lines. But that's up to you. And so maybe I will just go over with a little bit of a darker pencil line here and there. I might just be light and dark with some of my pencil lines here and there. So you can do some dark pencil lines here and there. Go back in and just add a few if you like to. Maybe you want to add a little more curve to the bottom of this vase. Like that. And I think this is good. I think we're ready to paint. So let's take a quick break. We'll get some fresh, clean water for our water container. I like these water containers. They're in the section below in the comments section. Sometimes you have to click on the word more, and then you'll see, if you click on more on the comment section below, you'll see all the art supplies that I have. And that's my own personal art supplies that I like for watercolors. You can look at them, check them out, look at the prices. Maybe you can find some better prices for different items you might want to shop around on Amazon. I do all my shopping on Amazon. I'm hoping you're going to do yours too on Amazon. They're just phenomenal. They have pretty much everything you could ever need for art supplies on Amazon. And again, that's where all my links are. So if you're doing any clicking on any of the links below, you'll notice they're all from the Amazon site. And once you get into the Amazon site, then you can just trek around from there and check out different things. You might type in different word searches and find different art supplies and things, but that's up to you. But again, I like these rubber water containers. They're really nice. They work out great too for video, because a lot of times I'm hitting them with my brush, my paintbrush, and I used to use the plastic ones, but they make a lot of noise, and that's probably, a lot of people don't like that noise when I'm working and stuff and hearing me rapping on my plastic water containers. So these are a little better. These are a little quieter, so to speak. Well, in any case, let's get started in just a second. I'll take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll begin painting. All right, here we go. We're going to start painting. First thing I like to always do is start out with fresh, clean water. So I always empty out my water bucket first, and then I'll grab some fresh, clean water. So I just fill up my water bucket. And then I'll take my brush. So I'm going to use a travel brush. This is like a number 5 Da Vinci travel brush. These are really fantastic. These are great when you do outdoor sketching. You can just remove them, the handle from the top of the brush, and then you can put the cap on like this, and you'll have this. And it's got a hole in the top so the brush hairs dry out for you. This way you can put this in a duffel bag, you know, a purse, your shirt pocket, anything like that, and it'll actually be safe and sound, your brush. And then the next time you want to use it, you just open it back up again and put it together, and you know, you have your brush. So I use these all the time. I like to paint outdoors and do sketches outdoors, and so I think this one we can kind of use the number 5 here. We also have a number 8. This we can also use the number 8. The number 5 and the number 8 should kind of be fine. I think the number 8 we could use for maybe some of the washes in the background here or on the table. But the flowers, and mainly this vase, the flowers, and this inkwell, I think those are going to be fine with the number 5 here. And I also have a small Princeton number 3 round brush, and this number 3 Princeton round brush, it's a synthetic brush, has a really nice point. It's called an Aqua Elite Princeton round brush number 3. It's got a charcoal looking handle on it. It's kind of got a nice feel to it. It's got a grip to it, and this has a really nice point, so I'll use this maybe for some of the finer parts of the painting. We can add some details if we want to. So the first thing I'll do is just start to go in and notice the colors and what we're going to want to do. I did notice that we'll make up a little bit of a dark mixture right away. So we'll do French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, a little bit of burnt sienna, a little more French ultramarine blue. And that should get us a really nice dark for any of the darks we might need in this. And then I'll usually rinse off my brush at this point, dry off a little bit of water, and then I just kind of notice, all right, this is what I have for my darks over here, like this. Then I'll say we're going to need some green, sap green. So I'll take some sap green, and please notice that I like to mix my colors first. You'll probably notice this a lot on my videos and my tutorials that I do. I like to just add some most of the colors I'm going to use for my composition. I'm looking at my painting all the time and saying, all right, what colors am I going to use? So I'm one by one kind of just looking through. So the first color I always look at, or the first tonal value, the dark or light of the painting. So if I'm looking at it as dark or lights in this painting, I'll say, yeah, wow, I have some really nice darks in here. So that's going to be my French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and burnt sienna. I'll mix that here. Then I'll start working on some of the other colors. So I'm going to notice I'm going to need some greens in here, which are the leaf forms, and we're always going to need some greens, and there's some greens over two here in the inkwell. So once I get my greens in here, maybe I'll use maybe some olive green too. maybe a little bit of lemon yellow just to lighten that up a little bit. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a modulation between the darker green and the lighter green, and we could always add a little bit of burnt umber there just to add a little nice bit of really, really warm green right in the middle there. So you can kind of mix your colors that you like as you go right into your palette, and you keep them in sections. So I'll leave this area as the green. This is going to be my area for my darks. Then over here I'll just use my reds, which are going to be a nice cadmium red. Up here, cadmium red. And why not? Let's mix up that cadmium red and let's put a little bit of alizarin crimson. So let's kind of keep our colors dynamic. Let's not just go with one color. So if I see a red in my painting, I'd rather go with like 2 or 3 reds just to make it more interesting. So we can take the red, we'll use some cadmium red up here, rinse off the brush, go in, get some alizarin crimson, put that in there. Then we're going to add maybe a little bit of I don't know, maybe a little bit of even cadmium orange down there at the bottom. Again, that makes a nice mixture of reds and oranges. And then I look around some more. We have some purples over here, so we'll use some purple. We'll come down here. We'll take our ultramarine violet, which is my favorite purple. That's by Winsor Newton. I use mostly my paints. I use Winsor Newton for watercolors. I'll use Holbein too, but mostly 80% is Winsor Newton. I just find their colors to look fantastic, and they just, to me, look great, and I happen to like them the most out of any of the paint manufacturers. So there we have some purple, and then we can go with some orange to gray down the purple a little bit over here. So maybe we'll make a little bit of a grayish purple over here. Okay. And I think that should be pretty good. We have most of the colors in the composition that we needed to mix first to create all of this. So let's start out. Let's go, maybe we'll start out with some of our darks. So I'm going to look at some of the darks here, and maybe I'll start right here, which is right at sort of the bottom, or the top of the vase, actually right here. So I'll get some of those darks, and maybe I'll actually shift over to my Princeton number 3 so I can get a little more of a sharper bit of paint strokes over here, because I noticed that that's a little bit dark there, and there's some more darks over here, so I'm going to put in some darks starting out right away. And I just look around and say, okay, where else do I see some darker darks? There's some darker darks up here. There's some more darker darks up here. This is where the stem is for this flower up here. So I might make that dark up there. So you can kind of see that's my goal right now, is to get my darks in first. And this is actually the alla prima method, which is the alla prima method of painting in watercolor, which I cover in my book. So basically I use 2 different methods, the alla prima method and the glazing technique or glazing method. So if you learn both of those techniques independently from each other, and you learn them really well, then eventually you'll use both of them interchangeably if you want to. So it'll just give you the freedom to kind of work both of those methods independently as well as combine them in certain paintings, and you'll kind of just know when you're working on a painting how you're going to want to approach your painting as you're sort of starting it and looking at it and working on it and starting to game plan as you're going in to do your painting. You'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this alla prima mostly, but I might do a little bit of like glazing here and there on certain parts of the painting. Or you might say, nope, this one is completely glazing method of a painting, and you'll do it that way. So at least it gives you the options, and that's why I kind of really showcase both of those methods, the glazing technique and the alla prima method or technique. So you have both. You can learn those and get those under your belt to start with in watercolor when you're first starting. And then once you learn that, you're all set. Then you can just use them as you need to, whenever you want to. and you're all set. All right, so now let's come over here. I see some darks over here on this inkwell, so I'll just put a few darks in there. A little bit of dark under there. And we can come back and get some more darks a little bit later if we want to. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we'll just keep working. We just got some of our darks in, our really darks that we noticed through the painting. Okay, and then let's start. And I will definitely mention this. When I rinse off my brush, I dry off the excess water off of my brush here on a napkin or a tissue or a paper towel, so that I can just go in and basically get straight paint. So I don't really want to use anything but straight paint at this point in time right now when I'm doing these flowers. So a lot of times what happens is we sometimes forget ourselves and we start going in and we're rinsing our brush off and we forget to dry off some of the water on our brush, and then after that we start diluting the paints. So let's try to remember, let's keep the paints exciting and juicy and thick like this to get those beautiful colors we want, like that. And then we'll use some orange and red over here. Let's do one. Oh, there's plenty of beautiful red flowers here, so we're going to keep going with that. And as you can see, I'm just getting my flower petals in, the red flower petals. Then at some point in time you might start rinsing off your brush, drying off a little bit of the water, and sometimes you'll make a little bit of a lighter tone like this. So you just add a little bit of water like that to lighten up an area. And then at some point too, you're going to want to maybe just take a little bit of purple and orange here and do a little splash here too. So I'll just get a little bit of this. Just do a couple splashes. Sometimes you can take any color that you really want to splash a little bit on there. And we'll do some purple over here. There's some purple in this flower here, so I'll get some of that in there. Rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water, so I can kind of then carefully lighten up that wash by just using a damp brush and sort of leaving a lighter tone over here. So you can, if you can imagine, you'll see here I'll put the darker purple down here, then I'll rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water, and then lighten up and kind of make it lighter toward the center of the flower, like that. And then I'll leave that white paper there. You want to leave lots of white paper to start with in the middle of your flower arrangement here, especially we'll take a little bit of the yellow. We'll make some of that yellow for the center of our daisy, and then we can do that, and then we have some purple too. We'll do some purple for some of the shadowing there in between the petals of the daisy. And then over here we have some purple flowers, so we're going to need some more of that ultramarine violet. get some of that purple in there, and then I'll use a damp brush. I'll rinse off the brush in fresh, clean water, dry off a little bit of the water on a tissue, and then I can sort of blend and make these lighter bits of wash on some of these petals of these flowers. So I don't want to just make everything all dark with that darker tone of the purple. I want to leave some I'll also add some of that orange to the purple. In essence, we're going to gray down a little bit of the purple with that orange. But that looks really good so far. And that there looks fine. And I might take a little bit of purple and do a couple splashes over there. I'll go in and get some green now. I want to get some green in here that I noticed that in the beginning when we started. That looks really great too when you put some of the greens, the green leafy forms into the vase here. A couple splashes. A little bit of green over here. I rinse off my brush again. More of an olivey green over here. So you can kind of mix your colors around. I'll do some more green over here. That. Some more purple. So at this point I'm starting to notice that I should probably take a little bit of a break now, because we have been doing quite a bit of work. We've been working quite a bit now for 20 minutes or more. 15, well, I think about 15 minutes we've been working, maybe a little more. So let's not keep going here. I'll add a little bit more, some cobalt blue and some cerulean blue, just to add some blue in there, a couple spots. The reason I do that is because we're going to put some blue in the background. So if we're going to put blue in the background of our painting, we're absolutely going to want to add some of that blue, a couple little spots of it here and there in the flowers. This way it's going to look like it all ties in together. It kind of all weaves like a fabric. It weaves all together. So you're kind of like working with upholstery and fabric here. You're trying to weave all your colors through your painting. You wouldn't want to just put blue in the background and then not have that blue in other areas of your flower arrangement here. You want to sort of have that color in there too. Doesn't have to be a lot, but that will really make your painting look much more harmonious as it appears when you're looking at it. So we're going to keep that in mind. And these are more purple flowers here. So I think we're pretty much going to take a break in a few seconds. We just have this part of some few flowers there. Like that. And I think we're good. I think we have a good likeness of this here over here. I don't mind at this point taking a little bit of red and maybe making a red flower over here too. Sort of counterbalance these red flowers over here. I'll put a red flower there just so we have a little, again, we kind of balance our colors too. And that to me looks good. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll start to work on our inkwell here, and then we'll do our background. So we're pretty much about 75% of the way done. I always mention too, please, if you haven't subscribed so far, join along, subscribe on the right hand side below. Join us every week. We're working together, doing everything watercolor. We do every kind of subject matter you can imagine. We'll do flowers, landscapes, beach scenes, seascapes. We'll do figure painting, portrait painting. We'll do architecture, buildings, city scenes, everything watercolor. So you'll have just a fun time here. We're doing the basics every time we get together, so that after a while, maybe I would say about 6 months to 1 year's time, if you're working with us every week. And that's why I say if you're subscribing, you'll be watching all the time every week. And then maybe sometimes you're not going to always paint and bust out the art supplies, but you will be watching. If you're half a year to a year of working with us, you'll kind of have pretty much all the basics kind of like, in your mind, and you'll kind of have them down. And then it's just a matter of you just keep working on it and developing it as you go. But I always mention that if you're subscribing, that means you're in the game, your head's in the game, and you're constantly, learning more, absorbing the information. And then as we go, you'll have a much easier time with watercolor, and that's the main thing. Let's have an easier time with our painting and drawing in watercolor. Let's not struggle too much. And the reason why sometimes we struggle is I know myself, when I first started watercolors, I sometimes did not, I wasn't studying as much as I should have when I first started, to be honest with you. But then after a while, I just said, what, I'm going to do a little more video watching. I'm going to purchase a few more books. I'm going to put a piece of paper on my desk and make an X every time I did a half an hour of drawing, so that I make sure I'm doing a half an hour of drawing. So if I'm looking at a sheet of paper on my desk and I don't see an X for the day, like Monday, X, Tuesday, X, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no X's on that paper, well, that means I just lost like 5 days that I could have been practicing an hour or half an hour or even 15 minutes of drawing or painting. So that's why I'm just mentioning it. Stay in the game, practice and draw as much as you can, paint as much as you can. But you obviously you're busy, you have a lot of things you have to do. Many of you have many responsibilities, and you can't just put in hours of practice all the time, every day. But you just put in at least 15 minutes every day. I think everyone can fit in 15 minutes every day of drawing. And then maybe on the weekends you can do some drawing and do some painting along with us here on our videos, because we're usually on the weekends is when I make my videos. I have more free time. I'm working a regular job during the week. And then I also, do my artwork, my YouTube tutorials here on the weekends. Sometimes at night too, during the week. Depends how much time I have. But anyway, let's get a break in here, 5-10 minute break, and we'll come back and we'll finish up, because again, we're mostly pretty much done here. Okay? All right. All right, so we're finishing up right now, and I'm pretty much, let's just, for ourselves, let's make we usually make these on all our paintings. This is just a basic insignia of light, a spotlight. So we're going to just say that the light is coming from this direction. Now when we're putting in our shadows, we'll just kind of remember that we're going to have our shadows on the left side over here of the painting. I'll get fresh clean water now so here, when I use my water container, when we're going to do the lighter washes here of the shadows on this painting and the background colors, I'd much rather have fresh clean water now, because the water was a little muddy, had a lot of mixes and washes in the water container. So now I'm going to start out with some fresh clean water. I'm using a larger brush. As you can see, this is the number 8 travel brush, Da Vinci Pure Kolinsky travel brush. 1503 is the series number of the brush, and it's the same as the other one we said here. It's the travel brush, so you can take this brush and stow it away, put it in your pocket, your purse, your duffel bag, your backpack, when you're out doing a little bit of sketching outdoors. Maybe doesn't matter, maybe in the backyard, a park, you travel to a friend's or family's house, maybe in the backyard you're doing some sketching or painting, go on vacation or whatever. You can have a little bit of fun doing your paintings, and you have these stowed away easy enough. These just fit right in, again, very small spaces. So a small little duffel bag, or even your purse or your pocket, and you have a couple brushes in there, you're all set. A small watercolor set like this, and you can bring this right out into the field or wherever you're working. A little bit of maybe a small sketchbook. You can bring your watercolors wherever you want to go with them. So again, we said the light was going to come from this direction here as we're finishing up, and we're going to use some of that purple and orange. I think that's going to look fine for some shadowing colors over here. So let's get some shadow colors on the vase over on this side, like that. Then I'll take my brush, rinse it off, dry off a little bit of water, and then I'll try to just dampen this edge over here so that it sort of gently fades into the watercolor paper over here on the right side, like that. Then we could go with even a little more darker bit of tone there, tonal value and color. Mix in a little bit of greens, a little bit of the reds too, like that. And again, as you mix these gray colors, these grayish colors, which are mixtures of all the colors we've used so far, if you put those all into this sort of shadowy color mix over here on the left side of your vase, that's going to look really good. A little bit of blue. I'll put a little bit of blue there. Cooler blue, like that. And then over here, we'll do the same thing here. We're going to make our shadows on the left side of this container here. This is our ink container, inkwell. A little bit of green, a little bit of blue and purple and gold, a little bit of red, kind of just a little bit of mixture of everything there. We've used all these colors before, so if you've used all these colors in your painting, you can happily put these all into your mixtures of shadows, and they're going to look great because they're just going to harmonize with the rest of the colors we've used so far. Then I'll take a little more purple here. I'm just going to put a little bit of shadowing like this quickly along this area here on the side of the, and I'll even do a little bit of this splashing going this way. So I'll just take my brush, swing my brush to the left, and then tap on it as I'm going across. And when I do that, it gives you the effect of like some of the leaves and flowers up here sort of shadowing down onto the tabletop here. And then you can take some of the red and put some red and some blue into the shadowing too, to give your shadows a little more interesting look. And I think that's fine. Then we can come over here and just do a little bit of shadowing in the background here. So what I like to do is take some blue, splash on some blue over here, just to have some background shadowing on the behind the table on the wall. So basically this is the wall back here. I rinse off my brush, I dry off some water, and then I just gently scrub that wash a little bit up into the background there. Same thing over here, some blue, some purple, some orange and purple and blue, maybe a little bit of red and orange there. You can tie in your background colors with your vase, like that. You can go with a little bit of a darker color over the top of this inkwell, and that'll give you a nice highlight of a color there, where you can kind of see the top of that inkwell. Maybe you'll add a little bit of dark accent color over here just to give yourself a little interesting look over here. So sometimes when you're looking at a painting, you want to look around maybe a little bit, see different interesting colors and shadows and things. So if you add a little more colors and shadows there, you can splash a few splashes here with some blue. So you just see I'll put some splashing here, a little bit on the table. We'll pretend this is a white tablecloth here. I think that's what it was when the person painted this, probably. And you can just add a little bit of And I think that's pretty much it. If you find some of your splashes might be excessive, you can just blot them a little bit. Take a little bit of tissue, blot a little bit. Always remember you have the opportunity with some tissue, a balled up tissue here, just to blot out a few things. If you put some splashes on there and you say to yourself, I'm not sure that splash or those few splashes I did was proper or it doesn't look correct, no problem. You can take your tissue and just lift up a few here and there. So that is not a problem when you're working, you know, to kind of delete, sort of like if you're typing on the computer and you want to backspace and delete something out of a message you're typing, you know, you just backspace. So it's kind of like a backspace. Your tissue is like your backspace. You do something and you say, oh, I'm not sure I think that looks that great. Grab your tissue, that's your backspace, and you blot up a few spots here and there if you need to as you're working. But this looks like a good conclusion to the painting, and I'm glad you're painting along with me. Again, I'm always hoping you'll subscribe, stick with me. You're at the right place at the right time. If you're just starting out in watercolor, I'm really happy you joined along and you found this video somehow. And I'm really grateful for that, because I'm really excited that I can kind of keep moving forward every week, week after week, month after month, and year after year with watercolor, sharing all of my knowledge that I have with you so that you can become better and have more success and happiness with your paintings. And that's the main goal. I just want everyone to have really good mastery over watercolor, and it's just going over the fundamentals and basics on an ongoing basis, day after day, month after month, and year after year. And all really we have to do when we're watercolor artists is work on two things: drawing and painting. You could also say to yourself, I'm really not interested in drawing. That's fine. You can come up with your own method and technique with not having to do so much drawing. That's fine too. You can do tracing in the beginning. I just have a video I just created. You can check in, you can just type in into my, you could actually look at my archive videos. Just in the last couple of weeks, I did a video on tracing. It really helps a lot. It's very simple to do. You just buy one thing. You buy a clear, translucent clipboard, and then you just trace over things like this. You could take this type of printout, you might print on your printer, or you might clip something out of a magazine or a watercolor book. Take that, you put it on a clear, translucent clipboard, and then you take your watercolor paper, put it over top, you put a light underneath it, and then you can trace around the whole entire drawing and get your drawing in. So if you're just starting out, you're going to need a couple years to get good at drawing. So until you get really good and feel strong about your skills with your drawing, not a problem. Do some sketching in the beginning, so this way you can have some good drawings to work with when you're painting and practicing your skills with your painting. But I would say if you're working on 60% of your time drawing, practicing your drawing, 40% of your time on painting, that's the perfect combination. Well, you're going to really learn drawing and also learn painting skills, and you'll have both of them at a really good ratio of practice time, and you'll really get it. You'll be able to make a lot of headway. So I'm glad you're here. Again, stick with us. We're having a lot of fun here. This is just one type of subject matter we do. We do flowers, we do seascapes, landscapes, city scenes, portraits, figure painting. We do architecture, houses, cities, building scenes, all this kind of fun stuff here. So just stick here. Eventually you're going to find some of your favorite subject matter you like. So maybe this is flowers are not your favorite thing, but still, if you paint flowers, you're going to get some really good skills with mixing colors and learning the techniques and methods of watercolor as I show them here on my videos. So great to have you here. We'll see you soon on the next video, and happy painting, everybody. We'll see you on the next video.